Being 5:15, I call the September 24th Economic Development Committee meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call has been taken.
Yes.
Okay, entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Any additions or corrections to the agenda as it's presented? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the August 27th, 2024 meeting minutes as presented in the packet.
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the August 27th meeting minutes as presented in the packet, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, meeting minutes are approved. Any public comments? Public comment? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation Small Business Development Grant Program Partnership Proposal with Waupaca County Economic Development Corporation.
All right, so I will lead off that conversation. As you can see by the title, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation has a new small business development grant program out there. We've had several webinars and some different information that they put out there. Myself, April Kapitsky, and Jeff McCorsky with the Waupaca County Economic Development Corporation sat down and kind of brainstormed a little bit about some different options. And I'm going to invite Jeff to come up from the Waupaca County Economic Development Corporation as the executive director. Yeah, I think these open seats by the microphones here would be fine. But Jeff is I'm putting Jeff in the hot spot to kind of talk about the idea that we came up with for applying for the grant that the municipality or a corporation has to apply to. It's not that a small business applies directly, so it has to be either a municipality or an organization like that. So we've kind of come up with a proposal to take advantage of this grant. So I'll kick it off to Jeff.
Right. So as Chad mentioned, the application process is open for grants from $50,000 to $250,000. It's for municipality, county, or economic development entity to take on the grant funds and then subgrant it to businesses. And they have 11 criteria that you have to score on, and it's competitive. This year, there's $2 million available statewide for this grant, but they're requesting a lot of applications because they're hoping that it'll show that there's a lot of need for funding for small businesses, and the next round can be a lot bigger. But in New London, the situation with businesses going into vacant properties, especially in the downtown or the older corridor buildings, businesses have to take on the burden of maintaining either a new or existing building. That's keeping it safe, structurally sound, accessible, and I lost my fourth one. But the biggest thing is structurally, energy efficient. There's been a couple businesses that have been looking for funding to maintain a building or keep it structurally sound. And this isn't a situation only in New London. We've had the same situation in Waupaca and Clintonville. So the idea came as one of the criteria is reaching out to a broad regional area. So I'm putting the application together for the Wapaka County itself. All municipalities would be available for the funding. Or small businesses would be available for the funding. It would be a first come, first serve, but we know that New London, Clintonville, and Wapaka have the biggest need for funds like this. So when a business would come to the Economic Development Corporation for business assistance and for financial help, we have a revolving loan fund that we can provide lower interest rates for small businesses, expanding businesses, and startups. At that time, if they're looking, or if they're in an existing building in a downtown or an older quarter area, or if they're purchasing a business or a building to put their business in, the grant would be available to provide up to $50,000 for improvements to the building itself, making it safe, structurally sound, or energy efficient. That way, it takes the burden off the businesses that have to typically have to loan money to make those improvements to the building. That way, it's helping the business succeed by reducing costs, especially if they have to loan for monies to make those improvements. We reduce that loan, but also if it's energy efficiency, reducing the bills, making it structurally sound, improving the building for the opportunity for them to do business. And it's not only for them. If they grow and relocate, the building is still has been provided the monies to make it, the improvements, the structurally sound, the energy efficient. So we're improving the buildings within these areas and taking advantage of the businesses that are in there or moving into there to make that happen. So the application deadline's the October 18th. So what I'd be looking for is a letter of recommendation, or what opportunity Chad may have talked about is, are there any opportunities to add matching funds to make the application even more competitive at the state level, and bring those dollars in so that we can fill up the vacant locations in our downtowns.
So I'll take it from there. Like Jeff indicated, that one of the things in our conversation I was kicking around and I wanted to propose to this group to consider was that would there be any matching funds on the local level to make our application more competitive? Because it's going to be a very competitive process. There's
Right.
only $2 million, and there's not going to be a lot of grants that are going to be awarded out there. So we want to make our application most competitive. So in the process, I was kicking around the idea, and I want you guys to kind of think about this. And what I'm showing right now on the screen is the information that Judy has in her finance report every month. And one of the things you can see is this item down here is our reserve account for economic development. Right now, we had, at the end of 2024, we had $147,063 in the fund. We did earmark 40 of that for facade grants. As of right now, I have $24,000 awarded. Doesn't mean I'm gonna have 100% of that come in as, you know, receipts and things like that, but out of the $40,000, 24 is awarded. So if you take the 147,063, if you subtract the 40 that we've committed to the facade grant program, we have about $107,000 in that fund currently. So I wanted to kind of bring it up to this committee would you be interested in committing some of those funds towards this application process to make our grant application look a little more attractive? And then what would happen is, if there's any New London specific projects that, you know, request funds and then request a grant from the corporation, only the New London portion of that would help the New London businesses, you know. So hypothetically, just saying, if we would commit 50,000, you know, Jeff's application, if there's a New London business that, you know, can get the 50,000 out of the state grant money, we could match that. It could be $100,000 grant for projects in New London. Just wanted to kind of throw that out there as an option to make our grant look a little bit more attractive. So I know we only have, basically it'll be, you know, 107,000. You'd be cutting that reserve fund almost in half at that point. We do anticipate every year that we do build up this fund. So what happens is, at the end of each budget cycle, whatever we have left over in our economic development operating budget, whatever's left over usually falls into this account that we can use towards economic development purposes from our reserve account. And then sometimes Judy, if there's extra funds that she kind of earmarks it, if you guys remember, every spring the council will designate, you know, leftover funds for certain accounts. That's one of the accounts that we look at every year. So at the end of this year, early next year, there more likely will be some more money going into that fund. But if we have 107 left over right now, and if we commit $50,000 towards this grant cycle, that we would be around that $57,000 left over in that fund.
So I have a question regarding the committing of $50,000. Is this a check written for $50,000 towards this fund? And then if our people, if somebody in New London does apply for it, what happens if somebody doesn't apply?
So Jeff, we didn't talk about that specifically, but my understanding is that we would retain the funds.
Oh,
The
definitely.
$50,000. And if someone applies from New London and is awarded the 50, then we can match the 50 only at that point if there's, you know,
So
someone that comes forward.
we're not writing a check for $50,000 up front. It's just a commitment of 50,000, and kind of like we do with the facade grant money. Once we've got it designated, so we're really designating money instead of committing money. Okay,
And it would be up,
Grant application, and that just gives him more points.
Yeah.
towards the-
right,
Okay.
it'd be up to $50,000. You could have multiple applications if you wanted to spread those funds between different projects. Because there are a number of vacant businesses that could really utilize this, and we could then start marketing those businesses specifically for small businesses, go through our technical assistance, loan processing process, and then kind of be joined in with the grant funds.
That's kind of the object of having that money in there anyway, is for something like this, so it's really not
yes,
taking anything away from anything else.
Mhm.
So I think it's a great idea to do it that way.
Was out of that 107, wasn't that also supposed to be some money like for that placemaking thing with our lots in that area down there?
We can use it for that. I mean, we don't have nothing committed at this point in time, but yes, anything economic development related.
I mean, that's what we had talked about possibly also with some of that funding, so.
Yep, but there has been nothing
This-
committed to that.
This
as
is a
yet.
chance to double the money.
Yep, no, I'm just stating that we.
One thing we didn't talk about, I'm sorry, I didn't think about this before, is how's the selection committee gonna happen with that? Is that gonna be some local input for awards for this grant? Say we get the state grant. How do we want to, you know,
I think it would be, as businesses are applying for the loan program, we could put an advisory committee a part of that, or my loan committee through the Economic Development Corporation has a loan committee that we have representatives on from all the different municipalities.
Mhm.
That could be another avenue.
Would it be for small businesses citywide or just the downtown?
How I was writing it, because we're trying to, look at the older buildings, and older is kind of a term that, we want to use kind of, openly. It would be downtown and other business corridors. Because we don't want to have a business wanting to come in just outside of the downtown differentiate, designation. But it would be a good, opportunity for them to help. So I would say the downtown and other business corridors.
Would it also be available for new construction?
No, it would not be for new construction. Because we're identifying it for, building improvements. Like I said, energy efficiency, structurally sound, safe, those types of things.
And the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation kind of left it wide, so they're trying to get the municipalities to come up with creative programs, internally of what they would need. So this is our, creative program in that realm of what the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation is looking at.
But they're also then, part of the criteria is to reach out and have more than kind of a regional approach. Or so if it was one city, they may not be scored as high as having a county-wide program available. And also, if we're applying for the 250,000, we could do up to at least 5 loans over the next year and a half, 2 years, throughout the county. So that's pretty good opportunity. And if I'm going to be speaking with all the different cities, but New London was first to help initiate the program, and also talk about, I don't know if other cities are going to provide that match. There might, with that match, you might get additional interest in businesses here that other municipalities don't have.
Hey, Chad, am I on mute?
No, we can hear you, Bill. Go ahead.
Question, so is this similar to what we had at one time, the revolving fund loan, where the city would receive a bucket of funds and then allocate it, but then the person getting it, it's not a true grant for them, they're actually making payments? It sounds like it's a grant for us and a loan to the business?
Yes, so the Wapaka County Economic, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation has a revolving loan fund that's tied to this program. But then, like you said, Bill, they would apply for the revolving loan fund through the Wapaka County Corporation, but then there'd be the grant opportunity tied to it separately in addition to the loan. Does that make sense?
So if we contribute money, we would be contributing to the grant portion.
That is correct. Not the loan portion. It'd be for the grant portion of this.
Okay, so as an example, we have the cinema right now, who has a building that needs some help. That could qualify because it's structural.
Potentially.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Would the money have to be paid back if they sell the building?
No, it would not. The grant part would not. And that was one of the things I was kind of kicking around. Well, what if the business fails, or if it doesn't get very far? But you're improving the building for the next business to come in. You're still reducing the burden of a business doing business in the building, because you're improving the building, and the building is still there.
As long as the way this money goes to a different city.
Yeah.
For commitment to 50,000 means it's in London.
that
Right, and then
motion,
we're
Dave?
hopefully matching that with 50,000 of the state grant money.
So it's
I'll make
more-
that motion.
I'll second that.
So the motion has been made to designate $50,000 to the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation Small Business Development Grant Program
Application.
application. Thank you. Any more discussion?
What's the deadline?
October 18th. Then I think the organizations would know at the beginning of the year and then be advertised and contract signed like January or February next year.
So we need to get the word out in the next 2 weeks for businesses to apply.
No,
No.
not yet.
Oh, no,
Gotta get
the
approved
grant
first.
application deadline is
Okay.
October 18th, sorry.
So
For us to apply for the state funds.
He won't know, we won't know if we're approved until.
And then you'll have at least 18 months of the program to utilize the funds.
Any further discussion? Okay, so those in favor of designating $50,000 towards the program in the application process, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Highway 15 digital billboard advertising updates. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Jeff. I will take it from there. As everyone knows, we are working on a program to do some advertising on the digital billboard on Highway 15 in Greenville. I have on the screen the first kick of ideas that Lamar, the company that I'm working with, to just try to put some ideas out there, what could be on the billboard. So initial thought was, hey, can we come up with something that's a consistent look or theme, but have different messages, so when people go by, they understand it's New London, New London, New London. And this was the first kick of that. He did something that was representative of a license plate, and then just different ideas about New London along with that. Again, like I said in my memo, I have no idea if this is the route we're gonna go with things. I have a meeting set up with the other stakeholders in this program, the school, the chamber, and several of the businesses that have shown interest with this program. We're meeting tomorrow to talk about this further. I don't know if this type of theme would work for the private businesses, depending on what they want to advertise for. But I want to kind of get the committee's feedback in, what do you guys think about like the city's theme or the idea that they put around for New London right now? And then I'll use that input that you guys provide me tonight when we meet with Lamar and the other stakeholders tomorrow.
So we want all of the advertisements to kind of look the same. So I'm just wondering, like what you said, how would this tie in for business or Winter Wonderland? We wanted them all to kind of be unified.
Doesn't mean it's gonna happen. It might not work. It was just a thought to see if
Yeah.
we want to do something consistent throughout the
I like the
message.
idea of staying consistent.
Input, thoughts?
I like things to be different. You see the same thing over and over. You get immune to it.
Mhm.
You have new stuff keep popping up. I mean, you're gonna see New London all the time. It's going to be, here in New London, your business is here in New London, the city of New London. But if you have different pictures, instead of the same style of picture with different words on it, people are driving by, it's not gonna catch their eye. Second.
And there would be no commitment from us saying that the other stakeholders have to do this. Absolutely not. This was just an idea to start throwing around some thoughts.
I'd like to see all three of them small down on the bottom. Show that we're unity between the school
Yeah,
district or
I like
chamber
that
and the
idea.
schools, then have a picture of something else.
Mhm.
for every business in the school or whatever else, but to have them three, cause that looks really cool. And to have them three across the bottom of the billboard.
Mhm.
And then have whatever business or when, cause I don't know how you're gonna get Winter Wonderland into license plate.
Right. I like that idea though.
Or
'cause
I don't just throwing businesses out there, whatever business it is.
Mhm.
I don't know how you're gonna get them into a license plate, and I agree with Mark, if they just keep saying license plates, it's just.
Mhm.
But I like that idea as far as going across the bottom, that we're all.
Mhm.
The same but different, or in the same
We're all
group,
working together.
Yeah, I guess my thought on having a theme was more of having something like a watermark
Mhm.
kind of thing that you put on all of them. It, maybe took up a, kind of like where they've got the bulldog, the chamber, and the emblem, the city emblem there. Maybe a little bit bigger portion that is the same for all of the things, and have that just be, whatever we wanted to say about New London, whether it be the hashtag that has started to circulate or whatever it was. Just something thematic.
What about referencing the New London Connect app, because all three of us are on there, and then our phrase. Why I go to Newlo or whatever,
Yeah,
and then our three.
something that is kind of, that was my thought process, is having something that was thematic, that was on all of the, because we're looking to help fund these for everybody who's investing, right? We're still looking to, and that would be part of that, we'll matching grant you or whatever we're gonna do with that. As long as this watermark is put on there, so, I don't wanna call it a watermark, but our stamp of is on there, whatever,
But that watermark makes sense.
yeah.
So instead of doing, a similar theme that's fully a theme like license plates, it can be any type of message, but it's a similar watermark that keeps that consistency.
Yeah, so, and it could be on the bottom, it could be in the middle, it could be on the top, wherever it makes sense in the individual billboard. It could be there anywhere. That was more my thought on having
Mhm.
a consistent thing where we're, like you said, the New London Connect app, the hashtag, and the all three of the logos.
And he did make the point is, obviously you can't put a ton of information on there.
No,
You're driving by at whatever it is, 50 miles an hour there, it's gotta be quick and concise and eye-catching.
Right.
You gotta get the message quickly, so.
Right.
I can definitely.
Could we,
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
I was gonna say, could we have our individual? Because I thought if I remember right, they were gonna be like 7 seconds. And then in between each one, could we have a big, like a second or a half second of something that went in between each one signifying New London, even if it was big letters, New London, and say it was Winter Wonderland. We had the Winter Wonderland theme and then flash, New London. And then it may have been a business, events everlasting. And then after that, a flash of New London in big letters. Because from what I know, very little is you want to get their attention and you're driving fairly quick. And that would still promote New London and each individual business or entity.
I can definitely ask. I don't know if that's possible within what they do, but I can ask.
Are we scheduled for November then?
We're still scheduled for
Okay.
November. Now it's ramping up. We gotta get
The
going.
road construction is gonna be done on 15 by then?
Correct. Well, better be.
Right. I think it's great. I think roll with it. And I think what you got is fine, sufficient.
Mhm.
Just get the name out there.
And just for the record, I don't dislike these.
Mhm.
But I, like Mayor Mark was saying, I'd like to see a little bit more variety within it as well.
Yep.
I don't want to see license plates flashing there for the entire month that we have this billboard up. So,
This was just a thought to kind of get the
Yeah.
juices going. So I thought it was a creative way of doing things.
it is very creative. It's pretty cool, actually.
Would you be interested in in the city's one looking like this, but then, I mean, all the other ones look different depending on what we put for our watermark in the corner. Do you like the license plate theme for the city's ad? I guess what I'm trying to get to. Or come back with something else.
Everybody think?
I think it's fine. We're kind of getting down to the wire now. I mean, you got October, November, it's here.
Mhm.
So. We only got one more meeting, economic development meeting until
Mhm.
it gets launched, so. It just gets people thinking, like you said, you can't have it too busy. They're driving by like, oh, hey, New London, I haven't been there in a while, let's check it out. Just to get New London, on the board somehow.
Well, and if the other businesses, if the chamber and the school district don't want to go with the license plates, then out of the 4 weeks, maybe we use the license plates for New London and switch out and do business Bulldog and find another do something recreational on the 4th week,
I think
maybe in green.
in April was looking at advertising for Winter Wonderland. totally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this one would probably be different, but maybe the school likes that and maybe these two are rotated in there and all the other ones look different too.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But my thought was like for each, because we've got 4 weeks, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So 1 week we do the family, the next week we do business, the next week we do something that is recreation related,
So
and
you're
then
saying ours would be family business, it's the city's specific slot.
the city specific one, keep it all the license plates. But each week have a different color and message on the license
Different
plate.
license plate. Yep. That's cool. I like that because
Good point, yeah.
it's mixing it up. It's
It's
not
mix-
stagnant for a month.
For a month, yep.
I can take that input back to our meeting tomorrow. Anything else?
Okay, if we have nothing else. Let me get back here. Okay, placemaking survey results.
All right, in your packets, I put the results from the placemaking survey. We had 284 responses. To kind of summarize the information. Personally, I didn't feel like I got a ton of good information from some of the questions just with the check boxes, because I felt like a lot of people checked a lot of stuff. They checked almost all of them. So, I mean, if you look at some of these, which one of these things, please select the ways that you and your family utilize outdoor spaces in New London. If you look at the answers, a lot of them are pretty close in nature. There was a lot of maybe good other comments that came through. But overall, with all the check boxes, I didn't really feel like I personally got a lot out of it. And even if we go down to the questions, I mean, some of these were like split down the middle for answers. But like I think April was talking about, I like them all, so I'm going to check them all. So, but what I got out of this, I think more than anything, was the actual comments that people put in question number 5 and question number 6. What would you like to see? And there were a lot of different comments and ideas with that. For the heck of it, I threw all those comments, I copied all these comments and I threw it into Google Gemini AI just to kind of see what would Google summarize all this stuff with. And I put these on your desks here, what Google summarized all these comments to be, which was kind of interesting. And after I read the Google AI summary, I went back and kind of looked at a bunch of the comments. And yeah, that makes sense. So looking back at what Google was talking about, summarizing most popular suggestions, splash pad, that was a big theme in a lot of these comments was trying to get a splash pad. Now, New London does have a splash pad, but it's connected to the pool. You can't get to it unless you pay the fee at the pool. I think people are talking about, in a lot of other communities, it's a free splash pad, just like playground equipment. So I think people have gravitated towards making a suggestion for that. Parks and green spaces, make sure that we're maintaining our equipment. That was a theme in there too. And I'll kind of talk about that below in the specific recommendations. Outdoor activities, community events, riverfront development, bunch of comments on there. Let's continue, work on developing and taking advantage of the Wolf River as an asset and the safety and maintenance concerns. Additional key themes, inclusivity, community building and economic development, generalization of what we're trying to do here. And then specific recommendations that the AI came up with the summary. Upgrading existing parks. There were quite a few comments in there about making sure that we are taking the time to not only add new stuff, but make sure we're maintaining our old stuff, improve maintenance, updating playgrounds and things like that. Then another recommendation out of all this information, work on our riverfront destination. That's exactly what we're looking at with this placemaking project is, working on the placemaking destination in the downtown district. Events are very popular. That draws people in, the farmers markets, concerts, festivals, things like that. Plenty of comments with that, and then just safety concerns. So, but I'll throw it back to the committee. Any questions, comments, thoughts after reading the results from the survey?
Question about both within the most popular suggestions and specific recommendations. The word safe, like address safety concerns. Did you understand that to be more of a maintenance issue, or was it a question of whether people feel safe using outdoor spaces in New London?
I guess my initial thought was more safety related amenities. And not that the parks aren't safe as in the environment, more so the facilities, the maintenance. I guess that's my first comment of it.
Okay.
Unless people can draw out other comments of not being in a safe environment, but I felt it was more of the facilities itself, maintenance wise.
I felt like there was an opportunity or a desire for things that were not just exclusively public. So for example, somebody requested a brewery. There were a lot of, I mean, it seemed like there was opportunities for private entities to come in and fill a need for placemaking, which is cool to me. Anytime there's an opportunity for somebody to make money at the same time that they're making a place, that feels like a win-win. At the same time, the opposite with the splash pad, right? I was talking to Tim beforehand. I mean, it does seem to be a trend within small communities that I've been in lately for splash pads, and they're free, which is something that we don't offer here. But like Tim said, they're only available for a couple months out of the year, and you have to have good weather in order to use them too.
Unless you get a custom splash pad and try something ice rink.
So first of all, multi-purpose in what we do. And then to your point before about, we talked about public-private partnerships. I think that's important to, expand on that, and it just makes it more successful if you can do that.
As far as placemaking goes, would we want to maybe identify a spot that we'd like to enhance and maybe put some dollars towards, the whole idea of placemaking is to take a space that is not being utilized and make it more friendly for somebody to go and hang out in. Like, we suggested that area by Longevity, what if we put in a bench with some landscaping, some decorative stone or a bird bath or something like that. Instead of, what I mean? We're just kind of talking about it, but do we want to identify a space that we want to just, fix up?
I think you somehow get it to kill multiple birds with one stone, right? I mean, make it so that it can be used for, it's conducive to events. Make it so it's conducive for people to have a farmer's market there. Make it so it's conducive for people to sit at a bench and zone out and stare at the river for a while, or like just build a space or better maintain a space or redesign a space that it fulfills a bunch of different needs.
I think what Tim was
I
talking
was-
about
I
is
was-
just a perfect segue.
It was absolutely
Yep,
perfect.
yep.
I just wanted to say that I am personally feeling like I have to ruminate on all of this a little bit more, a lot more. I feel like we've been given a lot of information that can go a bunch of different ways. Which is also a segue into the next agenda item, which is the update on the UW-Madison Landscaping Architecture Senior Capstone Project.
So I think to Tim's point, which is excellent, we did hear back. If you remember, we put in an application with the landscaping architect division or department at UW-Madison to do I think it's called a senior capstone project. And we have been chosen. A student did choose us, so very, very cool. His name is Milo. I'm gonna probably slaughter his last name, but Milo Agosto. And Ginger gave me a write-up about this, so I'm just gonna read this verbatim about what's going on. But Milo is a senior in landscape architecture at UW-Madison and has accepted our application to work with us on a vision for a placemaking concept. And we targeted the Pearl Street area where Tim was talking about, where we have the Vertigo Riverwalk and the areas between Longevity. Ginger did meet with him on Monday virtually for a brief introduction and started to set up some times for a site meeting. Since he lives in Madison, he's going to be having to travel and is enrolled currently with a full workload. He typically will be meeting on site on the weekends. He'll have to come up during the weekends to meet, but we'll be meeting with us bi-weekly on Zoom. Coincidentally, his first site visit is going to be during the Downtown Historic Walking Tour on Saturday, October 12th. So that's pretty cool. We invited those volunteers to be, okay, and then we got some other stuff going on. We have provided Milo with the drawings for the SCS site in downtown. Kim Kono's envision for the beer garden and a lot that she's proposing to purchase. We sent them the placemaking results that we just went through, the new development proposal at the Wolf River and Wyman intersection. So he's got a bunch of information that we gave him, and he's very excited to come to New London and see all the development we have in that area. With that, we need to create they call it a capstone steering committee. And this is just supposed to help him, guide him a little bit in his things. So this steering committee isn't anything that will be taking action. If there is any action, it's more likely going to be coming to this committee or even Parks and Recreation. But we did do a proposal right now for a steering committee to work with Milo, maybe not so much every bi-weekly meeting, that'll probably be for Ginger and I, but there might be some more formal meetings. We propose, and this is up to you guys if you want to accept this, myself, Mayor Mark, we recommended Belinda for the chair of the Economic Development Committee, Bob as the chair of the Parks and Rec Committee, because obviously Parks and Recreation Committee has some invested interest in this project. Ginger, April at the Chamber. So if you guys are cool with that, that would be our kind of a steering committee. I think it's gonna be more staff working with them more so generally, but we might have to have some larger meetings together with the steering committee. So if you guys are okay with that, that's our recommendation to move forward with the steering committee. But yes, we were picked for a project, and I think what Tim was talking about, trying to focus on an area and then do some envisioning, which that's why we're having the student come in, give us some options and envisioning of what perspective of somebody else with information of what we want to see in New London. So any questions, any comments, any?
I'm just wondering if there would be an opportunity to bring him in to introduce him to the committees.
Mhm.
And
Or at least by Zoom.
Yes.
yeah,
I
at
think by
least-
Zoom. would
right,
be an
right.
opportunity.
right, just so that you know, we can say hi.
Yep. Yeah. We were just picked recently. It kind of happened quickly. So, but I think in the next meeting, we would invite him to come in and meet Milo. If he's available. I don't know if he's got a class during the time.
Right.
We can find
Well,
out.
yeah, he might. So,
So exciting news there to continue placemaking and development in the downtown.
As we're if we kind of go back to number 7, as we're looking through this stuff, and there's comments about some of the other parks, like Memorial Park or things like that. Are we charged with, as economic development? Are we meant to, or as we're looking at this placemaking stuff, are we meant to be kind of thinking about just downtown?
Mhm.
Or can we have, or should we have a broader focus on, for example, Memorial Park or Hatton Park, or there's a ton of green space out on the north side of town that is maybe an opportunity? I mean, should we be thinking more about that, or should we be thinking more about ways to enhance downtown and help businesses downtown, et cetera? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, so I think if you have ideas and suggestions beyond, you know, the economic development realm, then bring those to myself or Ginger, and that's the charge of the Parks and Rec Committee. So if it's something from Memorial Park, I think that's the committee that is charged with thinking about improvements, things like that. Doesn't mean this group can't talk about it and make a recommendation to the Parks and Rec Committee, but the Parks and Rec Committee is the oversighting committee for the parks in New London.
Are the youth groups always investing in the parks as well? All the softball, baseball,
Mhm.
always doing improvements?
Well, like the suggestion of a splash pad.
Yeah.
I mean, is that something we should be thinking about, or is that Parks and Rec? Like, I don't know,
Depends on where it goes, I think.
really?
Yeah.
If it goes downtown, we care about it. If it doesn't, we don't.
Well, I think if it goes into a park, then Parks and Rec should be involved, but if it's just, if we're creating placemaking, then I think this committee should be involved.
I think there's overlap
Right.
by far between the two committees, depending on what it is. If it's just like suggesting to replace the playground at Memorial Park, I think that's a little bit more of what we, you know, make that a recommendation for the Parks and Rec Committee to consider. Now with this placemaking project, that's perfect downtown economic development, you know, joint focus there. In the end, you know, 5 years from now, yeah, the Parks and Rec Department probably is gonna be maintaining these areas
Mhm.
because it's gonna be park in nature.
So these survey results are also being provided to Parks and Rec and
Well, we provided to the entire council. Now, I don't know if Bob's gonna want to have an agenda item specifically at Parks and Rec to talk about it. Totally up to you and Ginger.
Good,
Yep.
good.
I think for once we actually got some feedback back that's useful instead of very few comments or, you know, so it's something to go off of. And like Tim said, pick one area for this time and we can worry about other, have everything else still on the burner someplace. Okay, let's look into that, this, and this, and try to prioritize stuff.
Yep.
But get one location nailed down, see what we can do. Go from there.
I thought 283 was decent number.
It's phenomenal. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I thought it was really good.
Yep.
And
And they're actually read-worthy comments, you know what I mean? It's not like, it's not,
Thanks, Rhodes, you said.
it's not a total badger or,
That's in there, don't worry. It's in there.
But there still is enough
Yeah.
actually decent stuff. Like,
Yeah, there
I think
was,
that was great.
there was a lot of good comments.
Yeah,
Like
it's good
people actually
sample.
took a little time to,
Yep.
well, and I liked that they were also looking at other spaces in other communities that they like to refer us to.
Mhm.
To say, hey, I really like this over here and, so that was,
So a lot of people referencing it.
yeah,
I think this might be a reflection on us more than the community. I think maybe this was an opportunity for the community to give good feedback, and maybe that's what's needed more so than, put more of the onus on us, self-reflection and introspection on how we can get feedback from people.
agreed. Any more discussion on either the placemaking or the senior capstone project? Okay, then we're gonna move on to updates and reports. April,
I did see that you emailed me, so.
So the first update that I want to share is Aldi emailed the council and chamber and has invited us to their grand opening ribbon cutting, which is going to take place on Thursday, October 31st at 8:50. Super excited to see them open their doors. Obviously located on Shawano Street. We were notified that Babes, a respite childcare option, has closed. So they really struggled over the years to find funding. They were 100% funded through grants. And when that starts to fizzle away, obviously it's hard to remain sustainable and provide payroll for their employees. So their last day of business was August 29th. What that means that we have a building in town listed for $249,900 that is childcare ready. So it's set up for a daycare. So we're trying to get that out to the community to see if anybody is interested in starting moving their in-home daycare option to a brick and mortar. So please spread the word. Next, we learned that a long-standing business, Frick Ford, has closed their doors. From my understanding, he faced some health conditions, and I'm sure road construction didn't help. But they closed their doors in September. I want to invite everyone to the Winter Wonderland on the Wolf. We are going to partner with the City of New London and Parks and Rec Department. We're going to do the biggest Winter Wonderland that we have ever seen. We're going to do a welcome back downtown with the road construction being done. We're going to do the parade the opposite direction. We're going to start over by, is that Wisconsin Street? That's by Festival, or is that State? I always get those two.
Wisconsin is the farthest one.
Wisconsin. So we're going to start the parade there and do a ribbon cutting as a welcome back, and we're just going to kind of amp everything up. The parade's going to be extra. We're gonna just do something extra for all the kids. We're going to do wagon rides between Familiar Grounds and Longevity. So look forward to that. Everyone's invited to that ribbon cutting, which is going to take place here for the parade at 5:45. So mark your calendars for Friday, December 6th. Commercial listings, nothing new there except for Babes that I mentioned previously. Super excited to see even some improvements happening with Piggly Wiggly. We haven't gotten a definitive date on when they close on that. Chad reached out yesterday to see when they close on that, but very excited to see what happens to that building in the future. Any questions?
Nobody has any more questions for April?
I have one question. Are they thinking about having the Spring Fest or Fall Fest all the time over here?
So the board of directors is meeting on October 2nd to make a final decision. We're partnering with the county, who is, they've invested in some technology called AI Placer, right? Placer AI.
Is there AI?
Placer AI.
Yep.
We're hoping to receive some actual data and numbers that will show what the crowd size was in 2022 when we were downtown and what the crowd size was the last 2 years. We also did a survey that we're still bringing information back from our vendors to see what they prefer, and then the community or the board of directors will make a decision October 2nd and share that with the community.
I've heard nothing but good comments about having it there because of the shade, the park and everything else right there. I mean, so I'm thinking of people, I think if you survey the people that were there. And even the old car shows down there too, without, it's just so convenient.
I know the last few years since you've had it down there. Cause I've been down there both nights or both days, and you've got twice as many people.
I think we've outgrown downtown.
New London ain't, the Main Street ain't big enough for what we had this year.
I mean, weather
way.
definitely was a.
You were at Fall Fest, like you had to wear your walking shoes this year because that festival went all the way to Parkview.
Right. And Main Street ain't big enough.
So look forward to announcement.
I heard some comments about maybe having the car show downtown because of lighting, though, because the lighting isn't the best on Warner Ave. So
Yeah, we were able to bring in 3 temporary lights that the police department had to put on the county to try to, obviously safety is our #1 concern. There's some things that we have to think about if we do the car show downtown versus, and we do them in separate areas. It's double the volunteers. I have to get brand new banners. It's double the barricades. There might be some confusion, so they're gonna take all that into consideration.
You just have to get more lighting, that's all. Light it up more.
We learn something new every year, so.
Would love to hear the results of that survey, especially the 2022 versus 2024.
I'm looking forward to that data.
Yeah, that's gonna be very telling, I think.
And then I'll just piggyback off of that as a caveat. Our membership in the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation allows us access to that. So just one of those other benefits of being a member of the corporation to have access to that information, which is cool.
It's really neat. You can see how many people were down at Irish Fest, how many people went to El Tequila.
I was just gonna ask, is it gonna show the difference in that data as well? That, I mean, did the businesses downtown lose business in 2022, 2024 versus, or did they actually gain more having it?
Seeing
That's,
the type of traffic that goes into the businesses, I'm sure. I don't know, Jeff, maybe you can speak on that.
What was the last part?
She's wondering if, with not only the traffic count, if you're able to tell, the difference in the business traffic.
No, it doesn't identify like sales, business, but it tracks people by cell phones. So you'll know how many people have entered a certain area that we identify through that time, and we'll be able to compare the Fall Fest area versus the downtown for all 3 years. So you'll see.
well, and my question on that is, would we also be able to see, so we've got the Warner Allen data, we'll have that versus the downtown data for Fall Fest. Will we also be able to see how many people went to the businesses downtown?
At the same time that the Fall Fest is going on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
that comparison will show you if downtown has nothing, or if a whole different population utilized downtown while Fall Fest is going on.
yeah. Because I know that there was a concern from some of the businesses that it was gonna take business away from them moving it over to Warner Allen. But if they still had business as a result of Fall Fest, or maybe even more business as a result of Fall Fest.
Another big determining factor was talking with Familiar Ground. She prefers not to bring Fall Fest back, and we utilize her for the fun zone. So I would have to rethink that entire area.
I don't think the businesses really hurt any because the people come for Fall Fest itself, not to go into El Tequila. Any of the businesses, they're there for the vendors.
And the majority of those businesses downtown just get a vendor booth then
Right.
on Warner Allen.
I mean, Domino's did.
Well, we have a business owner in our midst. I would like her opinion as well.
I, as a business owner and a community, person in the community, I would say keeping it down at Warner Allen is probably the best move. Not only were we having people there as we were set up as a vendor, we had more sales that Saturday than we typically have on Saturday. So it was bringing, and we had staff there, and we had staff at Fall Fest, and they were saying that people were leaving Fall Fest to come find stuff down here, and they were finding out about Fall Fest when they would be asked at the store if they hadn't heard about it. And it was even just at having a booth, we were able to let people know that we had a place downtown to go visit it and go see all these other things that are downtown. So I think it's the responsibility, it comes back on some of the responsibility as business owners to be able to share that information as we're talking to people. But yeah, I think it's best to keep it down.
Thank you.
Yeah, because if you're from out of town, if you don't have it in your booth, I'm not gonna be able to get to your store.
Yeah.
If you have it downtown, I can't get in. You could, but you ain't gonna want to, 'cause it's so busy.
It's packed. It's the same
Yeah.
thing as like St. Patrick's, the parade and stuff where we're fully packed.
Appreciate that feedback.
Mile of Music kind of came to an end because I think it didn't actually have very much local business support. It was a lot of effort to put on, and they weren't finding that it was actually bringing the business downtown that they were hoping for. I mean, obviously it lasted for quite a while, but my understanding is that's one of the reasons that it came to an end was because the local businesses weren't as supportive of it as they had been.
And I did hear similar about that the local businesses felt like the amount of money that they were spending to participate in the Mile of Music, they weren't getting back in revenue when they could spend that same amount of money on different weekends that they weren't competing with the other businesses and bring that money into their business. So I heard the same thing. Anything else about any of the business updates? Okay, Chad.
So there have been a lot of economic development efforts going on just in the last month. As most of you know, we completed the local processes for extending the boundaries of TID number 5 for the project that is proposed at the corner of Wolf River and Wyman. And then we also worked on and created TID number 7 on the north side around the Aldi's development. So those processes have been successful at the local level. We still need to send all information to the state and have the state kind of accept it and then go from there. But we were busy working on TID districts to encourage development there. I continue to work with Kim on the development of both the beer garden concept and then also the developer at the corner of Wyman and Wolf River Avenue for their mixed use development there. I've also had a developer come forward expressing interest in building a residential housing on the 11-acre parcel located 2 blocks behind Walmart. Let me see if I can bring that up quick just so you guys can get an idea where that looks like. So, but there is additional land for sale in between the parcels on Table Court, and it's basically this parcel here. This area here, the city owns and was purchased through stewardship funds. But this area right here is what the developer is looking at for a development for residential housing. One of the challenges we have, and we have some ideas that we're working out to see if we can make this happen. I'm not gonna lead into that quite yet, but one of the challenges we have with this parcel here is our current zoning does not allow a cul-de-sac. You know, if you try to put one cul-de-sac through here, you can't put a cul-de-sac of over 1,000 feet just for safety reasons and things like that. Our current zoning. One of the things we'll be looking at to see if that's more acceptable on our new zoning plan, but as of right now, our current zoning would not allow a long cul-de-sac like that just for safety reasons. But we're looking at that, but more interest in housing and more residential development in New London. I also had a conversation with Tim McCoy in the last couple of weeks from Benchmark. They own the building on Mill Street next to the DOT Park and Ride. I haven't been out there recently, but they're in the process of demolishing the building. It might be gone already. I don't even know. But they're looking at clearing the nearly 2-acre parcel out there and then promoting that for new development. So I'll bring that area up on the screen. So the building that I just referenced was this building here, and then the the DOT park and ride is this location. Benchmark owns this parcel and then this long parcel that they will be looking at clearing for either they would be interested in developing if they have people that want to lease from them as a development, or if they said they would be willing to sell to a developer if someone else wants to develop it and own the property. You notice this parcel here, this is the parcel that the city has our city sign on there. Hypothetically, in the future, if we want to look at a larger development here, the city could consider and selling this property too as more highway commercial development, and then maybe relocate our sign closer to the Highway 45-15 intersection. I think trying to get that city sign closer to this location makes a little bit more sense than tuck back in here. However, I got to reach out to the DOT. I don't know if the DOT would allow us to put the city sign on this DOT right away. I have no clue. But this would be something to keep in your heads in the future, that it's a 0.91 acre parcel. If this starts getting developed in here, it might be an opportunity to continue highway commercial development in that area. Let's see. And then I also received a call from the owner of the 3.9 acre parcel west of Walgreens, who is interested in developing or selling that parcel as well. So we'll go back up on the north side here a little bit. So Walgreens is here. There's a 3.9 acre parcel here. I have no clue of the makeup of that parcel, how wet it is, but there's a developer that has that parcel and he's interested in developing that or selling it for a different development. So that is available as well. So a bunch of different economic development focuses going on in the last month. The last thing I've got is, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Can you go back to the north side development?
Yep. Behind Walmart?
Yeah, is it still considered a cul-de-sac if the road just ends?
Probably.
Like it's intended to at some point extend, but it doesn't yet? Is it still
Possibly.
considered a cul-de-sac?
We've got some different options that we're looking into. Like I said, I kind of alluded that there might be an opportunity to do something to allow that, but we're researching first before I want to commit that idea. But
And then, can you explain what it means that the property was purchased on stewardship funds?
Mhm.
Like, are there limitations on the city's use?
so this parcel here that you see in the blue color, that was purchased through DNR stewardship funds. So the parcel needs to stay in the public domain for public recreation purposes. Now, there's sometimes opportunity to swap land to make things happen, but for the most part, we can't sell it. You know, there's certain restrictions on what we can do with it because the state gave the city money as DNR stewardship to have it as public recreation purposes. So it needs to stay in some type of recreational type mode for the public.
And how
We
is
haven't
it-
developed it yet. It's
It's
just been
not
sitting
used
there.
at all?
It's not used at all yet. But maybe as we get more residential development going on in this area, that might spur some ideas for growth.
There's been talk about a soccer field out there.
I was gonna say that would be a good space for a soccer field and another children's park
Mhm.
area.
Access it.
What's that?
Yeah, but
How
how
do
are you
you
gonna
access
get to it?
Partridge?
Right
Yeah.
now, Partridge.
Yeah,
That'd be the only way to access any of this right now. There's no access, through these, developments here. This is through Cedar first or Cedar Street
I call it Bowman's
Bowman's
subdivision.
in there.
That's what it is.
No access through the
And that's a trailer park.
trailer park, and then down here it's all private, so the only
And
access.
you can't come off of Genie Street with it.
Unless there's a way to come off of 54 someday, which
Be able to fill it in.
Gonna need a bridge.
Just get yourself a barge or a boat or something to take into it. Shuttle service.
There you go.
See a fire truck for a bit.
And it won't happen.
No. But this is, that's 95 acres that the city owns at Northside over there. Any other questions on those economic development things? Otherwise, the last thing I had in my report, I mentioned that several staff and stakeholders met with the owner of the Grand Theater to get an update and talk about what plans were for repairs to the theater. As everyone probably saw on social media, there was some information that came out today that there's consideration of possibly raising the building just because of the current condition of the maybe possible failure of the wall or the brick facade. As of right now, we're looking into just communicating and, options, and, I've got no other comments at this point in time with that, but definitely something we're aware of. Definitely something we've been in communications with the owner and some architects and some stakeholders and things. So we will continue to work on trying to have a positive resolution with that. But yeah, as of this point in time, I have no other comments though, other than what people are seeing probably on Facebook right now. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Chad. Any other questions for Chad? Okay, then we'll move on to review and potential agenda items for future meetings. We have placemaking survey results.
Oops, I can take that off.
Yeah, well, we might be looking, I guess the other thing would be bringing in, what was his name?
Milo.
Milo. That's what I thought, but then I'm like, maybe I didn't want to say that out loud. So doing a little bit of that review with Milo and just getting to know him and what he's thinking. Review the Highway 15 digital billboard concept. I think we'll need that on next month's agenda. Consider an upcoming schedule for advertising on the city's Highway 45 billboard. We've had that billboard up for what, 9 months now?
That went up late, so it was April-ish.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. So I think my recommendation was gonna be maybe wait another year on it, because I want to try to get this on a winter schedule when it's frozen.
Yeah,
We only put it on in April, so I don't know if we want to change it out
not quite
this
yet.
winter already. So, but we can talk about that when we talk about
Okay.
more schedule.
Okay, then transportation updates, childcare updates, and housing updates. Anything else we want added to this agenda, potential items?
Show the committee more place your AI.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm just fascinated by this data that he can gather from this. I think it's gonna be super crucial and helpful.
Okay, I think we should add that, because I would love to see it as well. And how we can utilize it more, since it's at our fingertips. Okay, anything else? Okay, then we'll review the next meeting date. Which would be November 26th. That is Thanksgiving week. It's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
November.
We had October 1st.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay, so then we're okay, but that is also Halloween week. But it's the 29th of October, the Tuesday before Halloween, which is also on Thursday.
Is the chairman going to require us to dress up for Halloween?
Yes.
Oh.
And bring treats.
Good luck.
Okay, does that work for everybody? The 29th? Okay, then we'll go with that. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any objections? Everybody for adjourning? Say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.